Sean Corby. I am the chairman of the NAHA committee, as well as the global creative director for Living Proof, and I'm so glad you're all joining us today. Look, we've set up this series to give a full spectrum of support to everyone who is watching, anyone who has ever thought about entering NAHA, or just to see some of the coolest people in our industry, get to know them, and ask questions. Feel free to ask questions throughout. I have a list of questions, but I'd rather have yours. So make sure you ask them as you go, put them into the question box below, and we will try and get those answered if possible. Also, I am so proud to announce that PBA, and thank you Sherry, and thank you Nina, and thank you Logan, has worked their buns off to get a resources page up at probeauty.org/NAHA. If somebody could even type that in, probeauty.org/NAHA. What that has is every call we've already had with some of these incredible artists, they have where to buy wigs, what studios to use, how to find models. And so everything is being put into this resources page. So make sure you check it out. Also, you can watch our previous interviews and the right here at Pro Beauty Association on Instagram at IGTV. So got that all out. I'll mention it again at the end. You want to know who's here today? This is a multiple nominee and winner, a creative director of just about every brand I can think of. Any brand that didn't have him, they wanted him. He's a stylist and a photographer, which we thought brings a very unique experience as far as NAHA here to the experience today. And he's also a really, really nice guy. So without further ado, I am going to invite.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. And by the way, we have a tradition, don't we? Whatever you're having, we've all heard the "I'll have what she's having." Here we are. Oh, yours is. I look like a wimp. I have this little.
Cheers, and cheers to everybody watching.
Cheers. It's a G&T, as he calls it, folks. And I even rolled out the round ice cube for you, which seems to be melting.
Wow, that is very special.
You're very special. So, Damien, we're so glad you're here, and I've followed your career for years. Every picture you do, whether it was for these incredible big budget campaigns or whether you were winning a NAHA, just always has that crispness, that clarity, and that little bit of, I call it almost on the verge of darkness to some of it, that is pure you, and I love it, and we'll get into explaining all that later. But first, I want to get to know you as a young Damien Carney. Are you ready for that?
I think you might need longer than the time we're allotted. There's many, many years.
So, okay, well, let's just start there. What were you like as a teenager?
That's actually, like, a lot of stories you hear. I'm one of 8 kids, right? One of 8 children. 5 boys, 3 girls. My parents were Irish. They died very young in my life. I lost them very early. Oh, no worries. Life goes on. We deal with things in different ways. But basically, I was 3rd youngest. And a lot of my other siblings, they chose careers. I was a carpenter. There was a PA to a company. The list goes on. 3 or 4 years later into their career, I did notice there was a pattern. And the pattern was they'd chosen the wrong career. And that they were unhappy. Okay. They really didn't see, they'd done their training. They achieved where they somewhat thought they were going to be and where they got to, but beyond that there really wasn't anything else. So it was just boring, so clock in on a Monday, Friday. So I thought, no way would I ever do that. My parents at that time, my dad, he was okay, and was keen to do whatever I wanted to do. But I was always fascinated by hair. The usual story. I went to the barber shop and just the noise of the clippers and just watching somebody change somebody's hair. I didn't understand it, of course, but it was the smell, it was the sound, it was the dynamics, all of those kind of things. And I thought it was really, really cool. Now, did I have the courage to do that at the beginning? And absolutely not. Anyway, rewind a few years later, I did go to beauty school in the UK. Birmingham, which is the second largest city to London.
Oh,
I
I
spent
love it
2 years
there.
there, and I was the
Yeah.
only guy, well, that's debatable, in a bunch of girls. So I did get a little bit of the special treatment, which I didn't realize at that time, and I do thank everybody. But I was shy like everybody else, and that shyness comes from insecurities, not knowing what to do, confidence, and other things. But I am truly grateful. I do believe that everybody, no matter what they have in their walk of life, especially hairdressers, there's
Right.
somebody that's always behind you. There's been, you could count them on your hand, that they hugged you, they gave you words of encouragement, don't worry, it's going to get better next time, and so forth and so forth. So I was very lucky that I was surrounded with a lot of love, which I didn't realize at that time. Now I'm older.
Yeah.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, I left school, but while I was at beauty school, I was a little bit ahead of the game, because I could see there was a difference with beauty school and a difference between the real world of hair, of salon hair. They're
Right.
linked, but there's a little bit of a discord, a disconnect. So I was a Saturday boy. So I was a very
Okay.
good Saturday. If you asked me to do anything, I was there. I was
Okay.
on it. The towels were shampooed. I was sectioning. I was doing whatever. I was diving into everything. So I started that at the same time I went to beauty college. So by the time I left beauty college, I had to do further training, obviously, to become a stylist, but it accelerated it. In addition to my beauty school, I would go and do model night on a Tuesday and a Wednesday night at that salon. And it was a cool unisex salon. It was all brown and cream and chrome and gold. And, not what you'd want now, right? Anyway, now I tell this story many, many times whenever I'm talking about my career, but education, I do believe with my heart that education is vital to whoever you are, whatever stage you're in your life, whatever you're into.
Yeah.
I went to a hair show, and it was called the Weller Vogue. And it was
Weller
Weller.
Vogue?
Weller
Okay.
Vogue magazine, and Weller
Wow.
had a very similar competition, which was a photographic competition. And basically, you submit and do whatever. I didn't enter because I didn't have the courage. I didn't have the qualifications. But I went to the presentation. There was Trevor Sorby, there was Michael John, and I can't remember a few other ones. Forgive me for not remembering them. But the one that did stay true to my mind was Trevor Sorby. So out came these models. I didn't know what had done to them, but I knew that there was a magic. And I think sometimes you don't need to understand a lot of different things, but you do understand with your senses that is brilliant.
Yeah.
I had the courage to write him a letter. I actually cheated. I got my
Trevor.
friend my sister, who's in PA to a lawyer. She helped me, and my letter impressed them. So that was the times when you'd post the letter and you'd wait for a response. And of course, I got that letter. It's somewhere in some archives with this heavy paper, and it's signed. Anyway, went to do a test. Then I had to get 3 models, had to cut a 1 length, a layer, and a graduation. And at that time, I thought I knew what I was good at doing. I had a good understanding, but there was more blood everywhere and more fingers coming off than really what there was hair. So obviously he saw potential. I had to do some retraining. That took, I think, maybe 2 months. You go through a series of kind of models that you have to do. Then you have to do a presentation of, I think it's 12 to 15. It's your final test. And it's always done on a Friday evening, because it's hiring or firing night. So you either make the grade or they let you go. Yes.
Oh, no. No
this practice
pressure.
is very much done still to this day, I believe. They're very similar at Trevor's and other companies. And that's what I did. So I passed. Anyway, long story short, I then worked in his salon and then eventually worked at his academy in London, Savile Row. That's where I met Vivian McKinder, Eugene Solomon, Ruth Roach, Antoinette. Antoinette and I started at the similar time. Yeah,
Really?
so, yeah. Then I ended up owning up my own salon. And for whatever reason, I don't know if you've experienced it or those who are listening, there comes a time when you've got to do something for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? You just got to have a go at it. But obviously, a salon's a serious business. So I opened up a business in Covent Garden in Monmouth Street and had it for 10 years with 3 other partners. And we focused on education and we had the salon. And we did well. And I decided again, I needed to move on. One thing that I'd like to drive home with this little thing that we're having today is don't be shy of really finding your soul and your heart about what you want sometimes. That can take a long time. It can be perceived as selfish, or you're using people. It's not that for me. It's about really what turns me on, what really that we can put others above it, that sometimes we lose track of ourselves. It's been like the airlines, you know, it's the seatbelt. Put your seatbelt on first before you can help everybody else, especially children. Because if you're not secure, then how can you secure somebody else?
Yeah, that's such good wisdom. And you lead perfectly to, like, you have, as far as NAHA, and this is really all about your genius in NAHA and how we respect you so much. Although, Adrian, there were so many people who, like, you've changed their life and they're sending you so much love. So I'm trying to read anybody. If you have a comment, put it in the question mark box or a question. I will get it asked to Damien. I will do my best. Your skills are complete. Tell us how you started in photography. How does one make that transition?
Well, I suppose what had happened is I mean, a lot of that kind of, I didn't do photography when I was at Trevor's. When I left beauty school, I didn't realize you could travel. I didn't realize you could do celebrity. I didn't realize you could do films. I didn't realize you could do all of these things. Trevor, obviously, is an international name. He was doing collections. He was doing shoots. So it kind of really opened up this window up here of all these different things, these senses that I'd never experienced before. So fast forward down the line of doing some photo shoots. I did editorial when I was in London. I was with an agent. I did that for a number of years. So that's really where I was the hairdresser. And then there was the photographer, the makeup artist, and whatever. So it was based on either a fashion story or it was maybe advertising, whatever the case may be. And I was just fascinated by how the photographer pulls it all together and pulls all these elements together. But the real sense and the reason why I started doing my own photography was I would work with certain photographers, but I wasn't working with the photographers that I felt could really elevate my work. But there's a time and a place. And you have to grow when you're going to grow with your others in the team. And I did grow. I worked with better people, as you do in life. That's what you should be doing in your life, opening up new things and developing. Long story short, I thought, hey, I've seen models pose. I don't know everything, but there's certain things that models do to create great images. There's certain clothes that will make the woman's body look amazing. There's certain lighting that will make hair look sparkly and alive. You don't have to have a sharp picture. You can have a blurry picture. You can have a dark picture. So what is beauty and what makes a beautiful picture? Peter Lindbergh, Stephen Klein, Patrick Elisha, you know, they all go on and they go on. They got so. Anyway, so I did invest in a camera. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun. Is that the one? Is that the
well,
OG?
this one I've had now for probably about 8-10 years.
Okay.
I would need to buy another one. And actually, I'm going to give you some tips about the difference between that and that.
Yeah, we can't wait.
That different.
Yeah, we can't wait.
Yeah. So I was lucky because going back to a lot of people that want to get more into photo shoots and work with stylists, you got to get out there. You know, you got to get out there. You got to do a little bit of networking. So in today's world, we're very lucky that you can do your computer and instantly you can pull up names of people. And I think it's about reaching out to people. So with my connections to doing my editorial, in me, and I'm a great believer. It's one of my qualities of everyone who's worked with me. I don't want to hold things back. I just want to pass on what something has been done to me, and that's love and passion and sharing things. No point in holding on to it, right? If you know about it, give it to people. If it grows and helps them. So that was it. Understanding a camera to me is like understanding one length, layer, and graduation. To a hair colorist, it's levels, proc sides, color wheel, and so forth and so forth. So what you've got with the am I dark?
No, not on us.
To make sure I got the right lighting. Just so
highlighter is perfect.
A camera is a machine, and then you have to, you know, pre-visualize what you want. So you've got to have some kind of idea where you're going to go. There are times where you may pick up the camera, and I do this quite often, but I have no idea what I want to shoot that day. So that really is, you know, leaving everything really very, very open wide. So I did invest in a camera that's not as good as the one I've just shown you. And this is really important for people that are, I believe, are investing in equipment. Don't buy something that is way above your budget. Start off at the beginner level, knowing that you're going to probably upgrade it and increase it later on down the line. So that's the camera, lighting, or whatever. Don't overbuy stuff that you're never going to use. And I did that. I wanted that light. I wanted this. I only use the same thing all the time, or very little. Yeah. So if you're serious about your hobby, what you could do is invest in a good camera. And what you've got to do is think about the quality of the camera. Most people now are using this as their format. So you don't need lots of megapixels. The higher the megapixels, the higher the camera level is, the quality, the lens. So you could get a great Nikon or a great camera. And I would encourage you to go onto eBay. And I would encourage people to buy secondhand, used.
Okay.
The prices has dropped. Most people who are using their equipment take care of it. Another good tip is if you've got a photographic rental house that is in your area, which most places have them, it's a place where photographers hire cameras, hire lights, and hire what they need. Most people, often big photographers, don't even have their own. They will hire because they're automatically built into the client's bill. So the point here is, if you're maybe learning about a particular camera or a little bit about a certain light, you can hire it. You can hire a Nikon camera for $100. This is New York prices in Chelsea, with a lens, another $30 for $150. And then it's like a mega. You could get a billboard in Times Square. You're not going to be shooting that when you first start.
But with that camera, my fear would be, because I'm inspired by that. By the way, Pamela Blackburn said, I would not be as successful as I am today in my career without Damien Carney. So
hi,
thank you. And she's giving you one of these.
Thank you. And Pamela, you made it happen, darling. That's all it is. You can give all of the information to anybody. I'm included. But whether I choose to use it wisely or sensibly, the way that I want or you want, is really the leader in the pack.
And someone asked, should I invest in a lighter or a camera? I'm not sure. Is that an inside joke? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand. Like a cigarette lighter? Maybe you can type it again and tell me who you are so we can at least shout you out. So my concern, Damien, like getting the fancier camera, and I've said this to you before, like, I don't know how to work all the buttons. Like, I know they do something, but...
Okay, so let's bring it back to the hair world. If you ask a hair colorist and they've got a color book and they've got all these shades, what is the #1 color that probably flies? Medium brown?
Browns, covering gray,
Yeah. Worldwide, that's probably out of all. But all of the other colors, they've got them in the store in the back, but they probably will never, ever use them. So on your camera, you have a lot of things. You know, it's a bit like your computer and my computer. It's capable of doing spreadsheets and doing all of this, but I use it for emails. So it's only doing a tiny percentage of what it's capable of doing. So don't get so bogged down on what all these things are. You'll navigate through it. I used to do it like twice in the evening, twice a week in the evenings or on a Sunday. I would go out and I'd practice. I'd try all the different things. The wonderful thing about now, it's digital. So if you don't like what you see, you can adjust it. We don't have waiting for film, which was expensive, and Polaroids, and you have to develop, and then you got it developed, and you're like, oh, they're all dark, or they're all out of focus. Oh, you can deal with that immediately. But that was the fancy camera we talked about. You can learn the same lessons on your camera here, because this is just the smaller camera in the sense of its capability of blowing up an image to a high quality. It has limitations, but it has the same mechanics in a very basic form. So this is actually a very good tool to master first, because you've got to master angles, light, and so forth. Of course, we won't connect with flash.
And it's automated enough for us. And by the way, sorry, there was a typo. Somebody put, a crimper, lights or camera. Which would you invest in first? Good lighting? Would you invest in a good lights or a camera first?
Camera first.
Camera first.
Because that'll determine what lights you want to buy. Yeah. The camera, the lights that I have right now, they're basically key flow, so they're natural one. They're like the diva lights. Can you see that?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
No wonder you're so glamorous.
Well, that's exactly. Hello. Whatever, and go out and shoot in daylight. So start with daylight. Look at the way that daylight starts. You can shoot in very stark daylight where it's very hard, but it's not very good on textured hair because it'll make it look even frizzier. So you've got to shoot. You'll understand about how light reflects on hair without getting too technical. The bottom line is you can go on, as I have done since I've been off during this transitional time that we've been on, and you can go to YouTube and learn lots of different techniques.
So Pierre is asking, can you show the lights again, please? And remember, we'll put everything on the resources page at probeauty.org/.
Yeah.
Sort of. It looks square.
Yeah, they're just basically 4 long tubes. They could be tubes.
Oh, 4 long tubes.
They're daylight balanced tubes, which is keen to flow. They use them in the world of film, and they use them in studios on TV. They're daylight balanced, so you can mix these with daylight. The only reason why I put these on is because it basically gives me quite an even tone. It's really great for a lot of photographers use them for mimicking daylight, even if you're not outside. There's lots of different ways you can gel them. You can do lots of different things. The wonderful thing about this kind of lighting, and the same with the Diva light, you don't have to have this. That cost me, I think it was $1,000. But don't buy it if you're only going to use it twice a year. I know I'm going to work it to death. And I know the camera that I bought cost me a lot of money. It was an investment in my career. But with all the shoots that I've done over the years, it's paid for itself 1,000,000 times over rather than renting it. So I was very focused. Otherwise, you're going to end up buying a lot of equipment that sits on the side that really just gets dust and dirty. So I'd recommend buying used. You could get this used. In fact, this is used. I bought it used.
I would. We have another question from Morgan. I'm reading it here live. For a NAHA Stylist of the Year entry, is it better to shoot full body, fashion, or beauty? Also, how do you feel about black and white versus color in competition shots?
I see fashion, I see beauty, and I see black and white. I think they're all valuable. I mean, I think regarding NAHA, if you look at just the proportions of a body, obviously if you're shooting full length, then you're not maybe going to get the detail. Unless you've got a very big hairstyle, you're not really going to get this detail and so forth, and maybe the dynamics of the hair texture or color. Now, I think maybe for, full length, I think that for me, I'm not 100% all light judges, but that to me would maybe go into the editorial. And then regarding all the other categories, I'd aim for about waist or going closer. But to me, I wouldn't limit myself on those crops unless you felt it was a part of your concept and it really brought your images jumping off the screen.
And make sure, just to Morgan, so Morgan knows, you can't enter editorial. It must be published work. So so if it feels too editorial and it's not published work, go ahead and do what Damien's saying, which is more.
But you see, again, if you've got I'm not saying this camera, but if you've got a good amount of megapixels in your camera, you can shoot full length and crop it in to there. You can even, with mine, you can even crop it into a headshot. I can't do that with this. I can crop it in a bit because the megapixels is much lower.
That's the smartest thing all the time, because I've done shoots, hundreds of shoots now for Alterna and Living Proof. And I always say, wait, you've got to get this. And they're like, I'll crop in later. These $250,000 photographers are like, I'll get it later.
Well, you see, also the thing is forgive me, I'm not the expert compared to other photographers who might kind of point on it. But sometimes you can have a picture that's maybe, 3/4 or full length, but you crop it in, it looks better. Rather than actually shooting it that way. Or if you're going to do really quite close ones, you're going to shoot them that way. So it's chicken and egg. They both have values based on your concept, based on what you see.
A crimper wants to know, should you submit all the same types of crops in your submissions?
As in a collection I think there needs to be some kind of continuity in the sense of the way that they're kind of, maybe they don't all have to be in the same position, but you have to look at the proportion. You wouldn't want to crop something in and one model's got a bigger head and another one's got a smaller head and one's got a different size head. You want to look at the proportions. You want to look at it as if you're looking in a magazine and you're flipping those 4 images and you go, that really goes well together. You know what? That girl looks really great with a crop and you need to work on these other 2. So it's about instinct. We're talking about inspiration. I have my little libraries.
I love it.
That I collect. And you can do this digitally, everybody. This is a great image of not having any wardrobe.
Right.
It's so powerful. Yeah.
Like a shoulder,
So, you know, you can take anything. This to me is like a monotone. It's neither black and white or neither color. And it's basically a white shirt. Could you get that white shirt at Zara and do some incredible hair?
Yeah, absolutely.
So to me, it's about, you know, getting your inspiration. And what I do is I've got libraries of these. I've got avant-garde hair. I've got makeup. I've got bridal. I've got men's hair. I've got all these things. So anytime I'm working on a project, I can tap into it and get turned on and get inspired. Because the worst thing in the world sometimes is with inspiration. You can't just put a coin in there and click the button and go, oh, bing, you know, we're all going to get inspired. It's emotional. You have to be in the mood for it. You have to want it. You have to be turned on by it. There'll be something that will trigger. That will. And I
love how you merge it together. Yep. So how do you know when you have the perfect shot? How do you know when you're there?
You know, for me, I'm working with, it doesn't matter, you know, the kind of level of the team. You just know instinctively when you look at that screen, you just go, oh. And when I'm shooting, I can hear what a lot of people don't realize, and I didn't realize this when I wasn't shooting my images and I was the hairdresser, that you can hear every single conversation and whisper, because the only senses that you've got that is here is your ears, because you're focusing that way. So I can hear if it's like, oh, that's a good one. More of that. So it's about feedback. You just know when the angle is right, you know, the expression is right, and you know everything else. But more important is working with people that basically know more than what I do. Okay. And in the last year, and I have no problem in saying this and no problem in crediting those people, in the last probably 4 or 5 years, the people that I've been working with are doing editorial all the time. They're doing the commercials, they're doing the campaigns, they're in New York. It's a tough industry. Everybody's got to pay the rent. There's beautiful people everywhere. So the point being is surrounding yourself with amazing people. And a personal story about reaching out to people. Yeah. I was very frightened of doing that because I didn't feel worthy. I didn't have any images to show them. I called an agent. They were like, "You kidding me? I wouldn't touch you. You haven't got that image." So it closed the door. So I had to go back, and I have to go back with the right portfolio to get the models. This leads me on to one woman, this special lady to me, who's introduced by a wardrobe stylist called Coco Farlis, who they worked together prior to me. But it's called Joanne Gare, and basically she is a body painter and makeup artist.
Did she do that?
All of these iconic images that we all look at, Madonna. She did all of those kind of things. So when you're looking about, you know, she talks to me and she might give me an idea about how it should be shot. She'll talk to me and say, Damien, maybe you might want to move that hair a little bit this way. I have no problem with that. So she has the experience, gorgeous. The story to this is that I dreamt about Joanne. If she would ever shoot with me, if I was ever get to a level, I reached out to her with my friend Nico, and she was very beautiful. And she said, "Let's do a test. Let's do a shoot." Yeah. And from there, I've been working with her quite regular, and things are different, and it's just amazing. Surround yourself with people you're going to learn from, and it's the small little bits in this ladder that have huge impact. And I think you've got to remember, for people that are listening, that it's a starting point. I've been doing this a while now, so I should have results. I should be getting somewhere in my own mind. And I think it's important to think about what I think about my work. I love to hear constructive criticism. I like to have things bounce back. But at the end of the day, it's my work, and I've got to control the reins, and I've got to connect with people. Reach out. And you'll be surprised. People, if you're kind and you're funny and you've got a good heart and you're a pleasure to work with,
Yeah.
I do it.
Nico thanked you for the shout out.
Oh,
And now I'm thinking, though, you've just shown me like Demi Moore and Madonna. And so if you have people like this helping you, can we talk about maybe, because most of the people watching these days, everybody's in a bit of a crisis financially. Even the highest level of everything is not making the money they were 6 weeks ago.
Yep.
So what can we anticipate to spend if we're ready to do it? We're going to rent that camera or buy that camera. We're going to get some used lights. We're going to set up.
Yep.
We're going to find the models. What can we anticipate on spending, Damien?
Well, again, it depends. I mean, if somebody came to me, and not bombard me right now, but if somebody came to me with a real great idea and I wasn't working or doing anything, I'd shoot it for nothing. Okay. There are people out there that photographers, makeup artists, and I know there are a lot of your fans and people that are watching this are doing it already. They have learned that.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not about the money. Sometimes it's about getting together. Right. Now, if you look at fees, some photographers can be very difficult because, they own the images. They don't want to sign the rights over to whoever, to NAHA or to the client. So you've got to be very clear about what is up front and what your usages are. I'm a little bit more lenient. I'm not like some photographers, but maybe those photographers aren't the photographers maybe you want to work, because basically they're maybe thinking about half the time is the money or whatever. But they've also got to think about their career too. Their career. Do a job that doesn't represent their work, it can also be very detrimental to them too. I'd say maybe, an average could be 2,000, 1,500 for a photographer.
With your clothes and your model and your photographer.
Models, you could bet a good model in a New York agency for around 500, 750.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So you can't cut their hair, you can't style it, but these are good working girls.
Okay.
They know literally, I could shoot 5 of those girls in a day and it'll look like I've done a lot of work because they nail every shot.
Yeah.
Now, do I shoot models professionally all the time? No, because I want to shoot with them, see if they're worthy, and then you will encourage them. It'll take a little longer maybe to get a shot, but if I'm doing a shoot, I'll only need 4 or 5 shots of one look.
Yeah.
So you might just need to shoot a bit more. Equipment, that would also come under the photographer's thing.
Right.
Some photographers have a rate and
they
will include all their equipment. And in addition to that, you will need to pay for retouching. So they might say it's going to be $100 an image. Now, that seems maybe a lot of money to somebody. So if you've got, 12 images you're retouching, that's $1,200. But for that, you're probably getting some really great retouching that is high quality work. So you've got to choose your retouchers. But usually that comes from the photographer. As in equipment, they would take care of that. If you're starting out on your own, then I'd start with a low amount of equipment. Just get a nice camera, start shooting outside, understand that. Start off with maybe the ring beauty dish.
Yeah.
Understand that. And then advance to it more into actually flash. Then you've got wardrobe. Wardrobe, you can basically get a shirt from Walmart for $10.99. It's like a man's shirt. Cut it up, razor it.
Yeah.
Paint on some colors. It looks like something from Comme des Garçons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No offense to Comme des Garçons, but
but the camera sometimes can be very deceiving. Sometimes what can look quite cheap can look very expensive when it's lit in this particular way. But then on the other hand, it can look very hokey and Mickey Mousey because it just looks like you've done that. Yeah. So reach out to clothing stores. You can basically maybe find something at Zara, that looks like a helmet lang top or a Gucci or a Pucci, Prada, little whatever. If you can't afford clothes, don't do them.
Yeah.
You can create shapes with bodies.
Paint. Yeah.
But the model has to be comfortable. So, photographed with, very little on. You don't want all your team staring at them. So you want to create an enclosed environment. So there's loads of tips with that way. Models you will find everywhere. Do you think these supermodels all live in New York when they started their career?
Well, that was going to be my next question because, a majority of the people aren't in New York or Los Angeles or Miami. Cheers. Oh, is it time again?
Cheers to everybody out there.
So, and as we near the end of our show today,
Oh
I
my
just
God.
I want to ask you, because I feel like the model is everything. I really do. Um, what are some things we can look for so we don't end up with, I call it, another pretty face? She's not just another pretty face. She's a beautiful woman, but she doesn't photograph well. Could you give us 3 boxes to tick so we get photogenic, so we get, is it angles? Is it eyes? Is it neck? I've heard so many different things.
It's a combination of all of it. It's like what makes a great hairstyle. It could be the cut, the blow dry, the finish, the products. It could be just the angle. I think there are people that are not necessarily models, and I don't think they need to be, especially in today's world, where there's
Yeah.
an element of reality that people can relate to. I think people can be quirky, but if they're going to be quirky, you need to look at that camera and you go, well, you know what? There's just something really interesting. And they're quite quirky, or maybe the nose
Yeah.
is a little bit bigger, or the jawline's a bit stronger. So there's ways you can shoot somebody that will minimize maybe the nose or the jawline.
Okay.
So you've got to find out where and what is your key or your hero silhouette or your shape. But
Okay.
they don't always. A lot of my models and people that I use, they'll do it for nothing. And you're saying, well, you're Damien. But I wasn't. I've started. It's the same process, whether it's now or 10 years ago. I look at people on the streets and I've got a card that says, I'm a hairdresser, photography is my hobby, and it has my number on it. So I don't look like, a weird guy, an older guy
Yeah.
approaching somebody that's younger. And,
Yeah.
I'd trade off. I'd love to cut your hair. And I'd rather have a prettier girl or a guy that is quirky and interesting, and then build my concept around it.
Yeah.
Most people get it the other way around. I've got this concept. I've got John Galliano clothes. I've got
Yeah.
Pat McGrath's makeup, and you've got a picture of a supermodel, and you've got this amazing hair. Yet you can't get the clothes. You can't get Pat McGrath, and you can't get the supermodel. So build your story, I think, a lot around your models and your quality. But in today's world, I think there's a lot more flexibility. And it doesn't have to be the perfect body shape. Who says it has to be?
Yeah.
Ethnicity could be anything. So I think that's where we can be clever and divulge into it. But if you're starting your process, just pick up the camera, shoot at your friends, learn a little, and I'll just shoot with this camera here on fast 20 images.
Yeah.
And maybe one of them would be the right one.
Okay.
So how do you get somebody to smile where it doesn't look like a toothpaste commercial, but it looks authentic? You got to connect with them.
Yeah.
But
the Colgate
it sounds like
thing.
a lot. It's another career. It's another dimension. But don't give up, and don't, if you don't succeed on your first couple of tries or whatever, then try it again. You will find that you're going to get your gig. The most important thing with all of this for me, it changed my hair world when it came to salon work and making somebody look beautiful when they sit in the chair. Because I understood even more how important certain dynamics of the face are and how it contributes from the styling and the cutting and the coloring that we add.
Yeah.
You can take a picture and you look at a hair color and you go, that looks really beautiful. And then you take a picture of it and sometimes it looks cheap.
I know.
But which is the real one? What you see with the eye or what you see with the camera? Is my fringe straight? It looks straight to me, but it doesn't in the camera.
Yeah, I agree. We're almost out of time, but I want to ask you the thing that you are most successful of, and also a crimper asked, the big aha moment you've had recently. So I'm going to merge those together and say, well, no, they can be separate. But first we'll say, what was your most recent aha moment?
Well, I had 3 categories that I shot for my hairdressing friends, Adrian and Ginea, that were finalists. And I admire that they had a dream. They put it on their little Post-it note, put it into their diary, and made it happen. And from that, they've succeeded, and their confidence has grown, and their whole world has opened up. So to me, that it wasn't about me being the photographer and making it look fat. It was about me making sure that they shine, because I got as much out of it from doing those shoots as what they did.
You made their dreams come true. Damien, what is your greatest success? What are you most proud of? Your personal...
Just helping people.
Helping people. People have gone on and on about how much help you have given them, how you have changed their life. I could talk to you for hours, but we have these limits, so it's
Of
stored
course.
live. So I want to leave you with this, and that is to give us something to take with us. Your entire interview has been words of inspiration, but give us some final thoughts from the mind of Damien
Just don't
Carney.
give up if it doesn't work. I think that we all have to fail to succeed. And I know that we hear that a lot in the industry, but I have all as insecurities as anybody else. I feel I've grown. I still got so much I want to do, and you think otherwise of me, and that's wonderful, and thank you. But for me, I'm still kind of here. And be persistent, and whether that's building your salon, whether it's building your clientele, whether it's learning how to cut a bob or color technique or entering NAHA. But my world changed when I got into the photographic world, because with a click of a button, your images, everybody out there, regardless of what you think and quality, that will get better. It can go everywhere. And that will build your brand, build your business, and doors have opened. And I've been to places and roads and avenues that I never ever thought I would have in my career. But that's also through to great mentorship and people that have been very supportive to me.
If somebody wants to shoot with you, Damien, how do they do that?
They can reach out to me. And actually, if they have any questions, they can reach out to me on Instagram. And also, it does have my website, which is DamienCarney.com.
Taking notes.
Instagram is my Damien Carney Professional. I'm an open guy. And one of the things when I do shoot with my client, I wouldn't say clients, my friends that have entered into the thing, we have a review afterwards. And they have things and I encourage them to work with other photographers. So if you've got a little question that I can help with, then reach out to me. Just like I said, reach out. And somebody will either say yes or they'll say no. I'll say yes, because that's just the kind of guy I am.
That is such the perfect place to leave this. Folks, remember that all the resources that Damien has shared, along with all the resources from our beauty.org/NAHA. Thank you so much, Damien. You've been incredible.
Thank you, Michael.
Taking little notes down here on my laptop.
We could talk for days, and it's such a pleasure to have this natural conversation. And thank you to PBA. I think they're amazing, and they continue to, do amazing things for the industry. And